Epilogue. Excerpt from a newsletter written October 1999. Now, still hovering above the horizon, the sun is about to bid farewell, making way for the darkness that encroaches on the eastern edge of the sky. The noise on the playground is subdued. Most of the kids have accepted the sun's verdict. Time to get washed up. Others want to squeeze out a few more minutes of play, shooting marbles, flying a homemade kite, and at one corner of the ground, kicking a ball. One boy, his face painted almost golden by the last rays of the setting sun, mouth wide open in a scream, leaps in a gigantic effort to meet the airborne ball. His lust for life, for one more challenge, one more brave deed ere night falls, etches itself deeply in my mind. Musing about the events of that day and those of my life, I stand there long after the last glow fades, and the playground looks dark and empty, the kids having left for studies or sleep. I will be 76 in but a few months, and the evening of my life is fast approaching. Yet, like that kid, I yearn for one more last fling, one more adventure ere night comes finally and irrevocably. Once more bathed in the joy of life, leaping up to meet a final challenge, grasp a final dream, and then, I will not fear the lengthening shadows. Let night come. Acknowledgements. My friends. A true friend is someone who thinks that you are a good egg even though he knows that you are slightly cracked. Bernard Meltzer. Throughout my life, though basically a loner, I have been blessed with many friends. However, like everybody else who writes a book such as this, I am faced with the problem of which friends to include, and which, though certainly not forgotten or not appreciated, to leave out, trusting their graciousness to be forgiven. Still the question remains, who to include. However, whether they are included or not my friends, constitute a who's who in the kingdom of God. Besides Bill and Kay McDonald and Roger and Laurel Stronstadt, Wilf and Betty Lee from Campbell River, British Columbia, are some of my earliest supporters since I set out on my own. I remember with fondness Paul and Mary Ann Hawks, who were at one time Asia area coordinators of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada in years gone by. I vividly remember during one of their visits to the home, Paul's shoes floating in 6 inches of water in the guest house after a storm broke down their door. When I was 60 years old, I was ordained by Paul on March 24, 1995, at the Abbotsford Pentecostal Church. I am probably the most irreverent reverend of the movement. I dare not forget Sven Soderlund, a friend and former teacher at WPBC, nor of course Pastor Ted Boodle and his wife Christine and daughter Michelle, whom I have known for the past 100 years. Here I go again, and my mother told me a million times not to exaggerate. Jack Keyes, as the mission rep of the British Columbia and Yukon district of the PAOC, turned my home assignments almost into pleasure trips, if you like driving some 40,000 kilometers in 6 months. Dawn Steinke, from the same office, arranged all of my speaking engagements, and in 2010 all of Bapu's, across Canada. She despaired trying to convince me that the churches were too far apart for me to take meetings in both of them, but I did. Jillian Rumney, Program Officer, Emergency Relief and Development Overseas, which runs Child Care Plus, has no doubt taken the brunt of my madness, my pleas for help. She has sore knees from crawling under tables, looking for some extra money for us that may have slipped under the carpet. St. Jillian, as I address her in my letters, deserves our deepest thanks. I dare not forget Don Raymer and his successor, Kelvin Hansinger, Director of International Programs of ERDO, who have been several times to visit us. Both Kelvin and Jillian came to Nagpur for the 25th anniversary of Prem Sewa in 2007. Then there is our personal angel at the PAOC office, Kathy Kozukin, who helps us in a multitude of ways with a Job-like patience. I must include Trevor Bueller, who responds to some outlandish request from me with, "Not sure this is normal practice, but then again it is frank," and gets the job done and brings peace to my troubled soul. My appreciation also goes to David Adcock, Chief Executive Officer, ERDO, and Reverend Murray Cornelius, PAOC's Assistant Superintendent for International Missions. Lastly, but not least, there is Reverend David Wells, the General Superintendent of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, whom I consider an old friend. Finally, there are many others in both the offices of ERDO and PAOC who have helped us and made life for me and our kids a better experience. Dave and Lorraine Dixon and their daughters Jaya and Christina deserve special mention. In my February 1995 newsletter, I wrote, "Another nice thing that happened is Dave and Lorraine Dixon, a young couple from British Columbia, who are spending a year here helping us with a variety of things around the home. They have adjusted well. They deserve a prize for just making it through last summer. Dave is doing a lot of computer work, and Lorraine makes the best pizzas and apple pies this side of the Pacific. They spent their money meant for their wedding reception to come to India. They also finally turned into real missionaries. They became broke. Dave and Lorraine spent 2 years with us. To my delight, the Christmas of 2010, they came again for a short 3-week visit. We are family." On top of the list of my Indian friends, though they are now scattered all over the world, is Dr. Robin Dawson, who now with his family lives in England, where he is director of surgery at a hospital. I have known Robin for almost 35 years. As a boy, he would come to our place in Nagpur and we would develop photos and do a host of other crazy things. Though he moved here and there, we have been in touch all these years, and I visited him twice in England. Besides being a friend, he also supports the homes. Prakash Lal, who I know for just as long, married a Finnish girl and lives with his family in Finland, where he is in a top position with a charitable society. Dev Sarkar lives with his family in Oman and has a position with a bank as chief internal auditor. We too go back a long time. Johan and I visit Dave and Sheena in the Philippines when I had to leave India due to some visa problems. Chris and Susan Coutinho go back a long time. Chris was a professor in English at a Christian college and Susan, teacher at a well-known Catholic school. Chris is also a member of our board. The last but not the least, as he entered my circle of friends comparatively late, is Felix and Omana, who do not live far from us. Both work for an Indian Christian organization. They sometimes come over to chew the rag and endure the boys' cooking. Our staff. Prem Sewa Shikshan Sangh has over 100 staff, and for all them to find a mention here would turn this into a telephone book. Still, some deserve at least being named, as they bore the brunt of building our home and worked very hard. To you, they are faceless names. To me, my kids, even if they now, at times, prove to be a pain. But most of you have kids of your own. You understand. Here are some of the names. The first kids who are now staff: Gauli, Reshma, Devlia, Jeevan, Dilip Gangorde, Kisan. A special mention goes to Rajesh Chogale, our former secretary, who has been and is a great help to Bapu. He and his family, like the others mentioned above, live nearby, in their own houses in our colony. Others, like Deepak, Anil, Anand, Ramesh, have also been with us since we bought the land. Not to forget is Dilip Balre. We have 5 Dilips, who acts as my personal assistant, and Dilip Raut, who drives me when the other Dilip is not there. There are many others who, though not named here, found a place in my letters and newsletters. If pinning down these names seems excessive, what they did was excessive, both in courage and hard work.